We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice long
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube. And also, always rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. What is good, Bears fans? The Bears play tomorrow. Big day for us Bears fans because if we finally get football, we finally get what we've been clamoring for all this time. I'm excited. And also, what a great way to start out with the Packers getting a loss against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, we're still waiting to hear exactly what happened with Jordan Love, but Jordan Love went down with an injury, and it sounds like, I believe that currently, as I'm going live with this, the MRI says that it's not an ACL and there's no ankle damage. So it looks like he's not necessarily going to be out for too long is kind of the guess. And also when you watch the game, it didn't look like a crazy bad or crazy big hit at all or anything like that. So kind of expect him to be back out and still playing. So let's get into this because today is one of my favorite days. I love to do this. I like to go through the season awards and just kind of talk about, it's our own made up award show where we have most improved, the rookie of the year, the Brent Urban Award, the Cody Parkey Award, the offensive MVP, and also the defensive MVP as well. So that is something that we are going to be going through today. So let's get this show on the road. And before I do, I actually just have to plug in my laptop a little bit. There we go. It was unplugged. So YouTube was yelling at me saying, hey, the connection wasn't good. So now it should be a little bit better, should be a little bit nicer for those that are watching live on YouTube. But let's get this show on the road, shall we? And let's start out with the most improved player. Now, last year, our most improved player award went out to Jalen Johnson for obvious reasons. There was a lot of people that were up there for the award, but ultimately it was Jalen Johnson because he was coming from a normal defensive back, normal corner, and then ultimately comes out and plays like an all-pro and got the contract to deal with it as well. So I have kind of a little list of candidates that I threw together as who I think might kind of go as the most improved and could potentially win that award for most improved player. Now, for one, the Johnny PayPal, like my former co-host, the Johnny PayPal rule is that it doesn't have to be someone that didn't play last year. So it could be a rookie. It could be a new addition like a Caleb Williams. That's definitely someone to look out for because in the offseason, in training camp, he actually was most improved. He got better and better throughout training camp. So I could see him being a candidate. Another person that I want to throw out there is actually basically anybody on the offensive line. Anybody on the offensive line, we're expecting them to look better. And I could see them, one of those players, being a most improved, like a Nate Davis. Nate Davis having such a bad year last year. And if he just plays good, you could technically make the case that he's most improved. Or even Tevin Jenkins at the end of the season. So these are all our predictions for the end of the season. Not saying right now, here's the awards, but the predictions that we're making for the end of the season. And I'd say that Nate Davis could potentially be that, or Tevin Jenkins. You could feel that if one of these offensive linemen are a lot better than we expected, or if Tevin is fully healthy, then I could see us being like, you know what? We need him. He gets the most improved award player. Also, Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright, just for obvious reasons. If we have one of our offensive linemen, especially a tackle, performing very well, we're going to eat that up here in Chicago. We're going to go crazy for that. We're going to love it. So that's why I also had them as candidates. We actually have a lot of people that could potentially be the most improved at the end of the season. But also, Broski, what is good? Saying what's good? Nothing much. I just wanted to record a little bit before. And I mean, this is during the Texas Longhorns Michigan game. But right after this, I'll go back down and watch that game for sure. Because last time I checked, Longhorns were up. It should be a pretty darn good game. So hopefully everybody's enjoying some college football out there. Because good slate of games this week for sure. So other people that could potentially be landed on this whole most improved that I want to bring up as well is I'm looking at the defensive line, and Gervon Dexter sticks out like a sore thumb. Because Gervon Dexter, we need him to be better. And if he performs like the 3 technique that we need, then yeah, I think this is another one that it would be a no-brainer, an easy person to add up there. But then Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson, Jaquan Brisker, all these other cornerbacks and secondary members that we're also kind of going, okay, who's going to take the biggest jump from last season? But then also too, I even think of like a Tremaine Edmonds. Edmonds had not a phenomenal year. Like we mentioned, it was technically below replacement level just when you put on the tape and how we actually played. Edwards was the better linebacker. So could Edmonds be somebody that really stands out, and can he come into his own? He gets stats, don't get me wrong, but the play itself when he put on the tape just wasn't as good as a TJ Edwards, wasn't as good as the money that we paid him. So I think all those people could potentially be the next, like the most improved. So it's a long list. And also one could even say Tyler Scott. One could even say Cole Kmet. Does Cole Kmet become a superstar tight end now that he has more wide receivers to kind of shoulder the workload around to other people? But let's see what y'all are saying out there. I see Broski out there saying potential for most improved. He has Dexter, Stevenson, Brisker on offense. Wouldn't it be great to see Tevin Jenkins improve and play like we know he can? I agree, Broski, because I think that's the reason why, like, part of me wants to say Tevin. I think that an easy one, honestly, could be Nate Davis if he just played well. I think that's, like, if he just plays like Nate Davis can, technically he would be the most improved because he was very bad last year. But Tevin Jenkins, if he does play that full season, man, it's going to feel like Jalen Johnson. And I think, honestly, to me, the most improved, I think it gets down to Tevin Jenkins and Gervon Dexter. Because Gervon Dexter has already started to turn heads. He's like during some of the training camp practices. And when I was watching the tape of him, he was good. Now, he wasn't getting sacks after sacks during the preseason, but he had a good pass rush win rate and also played decently well. So I think for me, I'm going to go for my most improved. I'm going to lock it in on my list. I'm going to go with Gervon Dexter. I think it's kind of a chalk pick, really. It's kind of a basic pick, but I'm going with Gervon just because if he has a good year, I think we're going to feel it. But if Tevin plays the full thing, I think that we are going to be like, we're going to fanboy over Tevin Jenkins because he's going to get a new deal. We're going to be like, oh man, we got a great offensive lineman. He's now the superstar, but Tevin's already been good. I think that's the hard part, is because him being most improved is more of him just being out there on the field. But yeah, the other wild cards though, because I agree with Broski, Wright and Braxton Jones, Darnell Wright, Braxton Jones, those are my wild cards for this, because if they're keeping Caleb upright, if they are in the front lines pushing the pile inside of the run game, we're gonna go, dang, look at Darnell Wright, dang, look at Braxton Jones. So my official submission though is Gervon Dexter. Gervon Dexter is my person that I'm going with. So let's go over to Rookie of the Year. Where last year for Rookie of the Year, none other than Darnell Wright came away with our award at the end of the season for obvious reasons. We had some pretty good rookies like Tyreek Stevenson. We didn't give it to him because we said, well, he needs a full season of play, like of that plus play, while Darnell Wright didn't miss a snap. Darnell Wright played well for a rookie. He wasn't amazing, but he played well for a rookie. So to that, he gets Rookie of the Year. So this year, we have 5 candidates. We have Caleb, Rome, Karan Amagaji, Torrey Taylor, and Austin Booker. I think that this is a pretty easy award. I think that this should be simple. To me, Rookie of the Year predictions, Caleb Williams. I like some of these with like Caleb going number 1 overall. Rookie of the Year, I feel like it's got to be Caleb. Because even if Rome has a good season, even if Rome looks really good, I still don't think that we'd give it to him because Caleb's the one that's throwing the ball. Also, Karan Amagaji, the only reason why he would be put in or placed in is if one of those other tackles were to go down. So don't really want to hope for injuries there. But the other person, I think Torrey Taylor, you're not going to give it to a punter. unless Caleb really wasn't good or Rome wasn't good. Or Austin Booker, I think he's going to be good, but I don't think he's going to, like, you're hoping we need Caleb Williams to win this Rookie of the Year for us. And he should win this Rookie of the Year for us as well. So that one's easy. Now let's go over to the Brent Urban Award. Because the Brent Urban Award is something that, for the people that know the Bears back in 2018, 2019, Brent Urban was the defensive lineman that we added, that anytime he got a sack, he would just kind of play the guitar. And this is what we call as like the under the radar player. Now, this could be primarily, we give this out to like a backup or like a role player like a Brent Urban, because he would just kind of randomly come in, make a big play, and you're like, dang, Brent Urban, where did you come out of this from? So this is the spirit of the award, is the spirit of the Brent Urban Award is typically it's a backup. But last year, our award winner was Andrew Billings, technically a starter. Now, the reason why he got this award was we weren't really expecting much from Andrew Billings. But Andrew Billings had a very good season. Honestly, one of his best seasons he's ever had. So for that, one of these players that is not a household name, somebody that you just don't expect. Yet again, maybe more of a role player. And yet again, Billings more of a run stuffer and fits that role. And honestly, that's the reason why he got the award last year. So it's this under the radar player. So I'll also throw out some of these people that are kind of some of the candidates. And also let me know down in the comments, who is your under the radar player that not a lot of people know? So here's a couple, because Khalil Herbert to me is one of them. Because Khalil Herbert, even though we knew who Khalil Herbert is somebody that just is like, he's a backup. He's a backup running back that I think that when he comes in, remember when he was backing up David Montgomery, you would put in Khalil Herbert and he'd get 6 yards a carry. He'd get 7 yards a carry. Khalil is one of the candidates because we're not expecting. This is someone that a lot of people were saying, trade him. And I could still see him being the primary backup, because also everyone else is kind of hyping up Roshan and saying, well, what about Roshan? Well, what about Khalil Herbert? He's still a very good running back. Other candidates, and I know some people aren't going to like this, but I'm curious. Like, this is not my official candidate, but I'm throwing Velus out there if he truly is a weapons guy. Because if he is going to be a weapons guy, then he is technically a role player that's flying under the radar. Now, the question is, he should be flying under the radar, because if he fumbles, then it's going to be a problem. So another person, too, is Gerald Everett, where you could say a starter because, you know, we're going to be playing a lot of 2 tight end sets. So he's kind of that starter, but also somebody who we're expecting Cole Kmet. And I think a lot of us forget, like when we look out there and we go, who's that? What, number 14? See, I'm even having to think about what number is Gerald Everett even. If he's number 14, right? Who is that guy? Who is Gerald Everett? What role is he going to play? That's where he's a perfect candidate for this under the radar. Other players too, Ryan Bates as a backup offensive lineman, just because if someone goes down, just kind of being that utility guy. Jack Sanborn, just because Sam linebacker makes a couple big stops. Jonathan Owens is someone as well that I'm curious, how much does he get used? Former starter that for a couple different teams, but also Austin Booker and Darrell Taylor. These are 2 players to me that are completely under the radar that no one, we're starting to hype up Austin Booker, but like a Darrell Taylor or even like a Jacob Martin, some of these defensive linemen that might be coming in more on passing snaps, and in the spirit of Brent Urban, only kind of getting a couple big plays out there that, yet again, you're not expecting. They're not a starter. They're not this big name person that we're all excited about, like a Darrell Taylor. Darrell Taylor comes in, gets some sacks. But my last person that I'm throwing as a candidate, Terrell Smith. Because if somebody goes down, who's going to be the backup that comes in? Terrell Smith. And I think Terrell Smith, too, we saw him play out there a little bit. And a lot of you that probably heard me say Terrell Smith are like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that guy. I forgot that he was out there. I forgot that he was a player that we had on this team. Let me see what y'all are saying, too. Illinois Jones, what's good, my friend? Hope all is well. He says there are 2 Rookies of the Year awards, offense and defense. Yep. So this is our internal offense. This is our own internal award. So yeah, even though that there's offense and defense, we won't necessarily do it with this because we only drafted one defensive player. So Austin Booker would get the defensive rookie of the year for our predictions. So let's go into and then also too, Broski saying going with Coleman Shelton here. It's finally nice to have a real center for the first time in years. And Illinois Jones is also saying Kyler Gordon. So for me, these are all good things. And if I'm talking about under the radar, I'm curious if Kyler Gordon qualifies as under the radar. I know he's under the radar from a overall perspective, but I'm curious if he might have too much hype right now for the Bears awards. That's my only thing, because I do think he's going to go off. I do think he's going to go crazy. So that's interesting. I got to think about that because I like Kyler Gordon. He's going to be good. So if I'm looking at this, though, and if I'm thinking about someone that a lot of us really aren't even talking about, a lot of us aren't even thinking about, and I know that this Brent Urban one is always a little finicky. I'm going to go with Gerald Everett. I'm going to go with Gerald Everett because this one is always like, who is the under the radar person we kind of didn't expect, the shocking player that ends up having a pretty big role. I'm going to go with Gerald Everett just because literally no one is talking about him. So like, just because he's so under the radar, so under that's who I'm going to like project out there from our under the radar player. And now we have everybody's favorite award / least favorite award, the Cody Parkey Award, which is given out to the most disappointing player of the 2024 season. Last season, it was given out to Nate Davis because for well-known reasons. Also, he actually shared the award. He shared it with Chase Claypool because we said Chase Claypool is someone that is just, we traded him, we got rid of him. It was not a good year. But then Nate Davis is the person that we ultimately gave the award to because we signed the big money deal, ultimately did not live up to it. So now, who are the candidates? And let me know, who are your candidates for this year's Cody Parkey Award, the most disappointing player in your opinion? Who could get the most disappointing player? Because I threw a couple, and yet again, it's similar to like the most improved. I put every single offensive lineman. I think that the offensive lineman, anybody out there on the offensive line could potentially be the most disappointing player. Because if one of these players gets injured, one of these players doesn't live up to it, like Braxton Jones or Darnell Wright, a lot of us are hoping that they can take that next step. If they don't, we'll be disappointed. But also Nate Davis, if he continues to look like Nate Davis, he might be the first ever back-to-back winner of this award. Because if he continues to look like the way he has been, yeah, we're going to be pretty darn frustrated about him because or if Tevin Jenkins goes down with an injury, it'd be more of like a pity disappointment, but we'd feel disappointed. That's the nature of this award. So then, and Illinois Jones saying it could be Braxton, Broski saying Cody Parkey Award is easy, Keenan Allen. That would be interesting because Keenan Allen could. I know that there's the reports out there from a lot of national reporters saying that he's slow, out of shape. And when we've seen him out in the games, it didn't look so great. But supposedly during training camps, he has been getting open. So that is a good potential award winner. But yeah, I like Illinois Jones's with Braxton Jones because if Braxton Jones, he's already on the hot seat. And if we start to see a lot of sacks given up his direction, better believe every Bears fan's calling for his head. Every Bears fan is going to say, we need someone new. Throw in Karan Amagaji. That could be a really good one. But also, too, Illinois Jones, we're on the same wavelength, my friend. He's saying, what about, probably Velus. Velus is the other one. Because Velus, if he messes up a couple times, he could be the Chase Claypool of this one, where he messes up a couple times, we say adios, see you later, you're gone. And that could be one of the most disappointing players then. Another person, speaking of kind of like wide receivers, Tyler Scott, because I know that there's a lot of Tyler Scott love out there. I don't think he could, I'm bringing this up as potential candidates. I don't think he would get that level of disappointment. I think that there's a lot of people that want him to be the next Darnell Mooney, as people kind of clamored for him. But even though he had 99 yards in the last preseason game, watch the tape. He just didn't really look like a natural pass catcher. So I hope he can put it together, but I have a lot of reservations on it. Would I give it to him? No. And also, this is the hardest award to talk about because we're literally just talking negative about our team, or like doomsday. What's the worst that could happen to the Chicago Bears with this? Because I even threw out DeAndre Swift. If people are like, we gave him all this money and Khalil looks better, but I don't really see him potentially getting to that level of frustration. So let's go over to the defense, because I'm going to throw a couple people out there. And I threw 3 out there because I don't think Tremaine Edmonds, I don't think he's ever going to be that disappointing. I don't think that there's enough fans that like watch the tape, because you watch the tape, he was kind of disappointing last year, but he put up stats. And I don't think we're ever going to really think, I don't think the fans will ever really think of him as being a disappointment. So I didn't put any linebackers. That's too hard to kind of throw out there. But I did throw down our potentially most improved Gervon Dexter. Because if Gervon doesn't take that leap and we still don't have somebody in the middle, I think we're going to be pretty pissed off. I think we're going to be pretty frustrated with Gervon. I still think he's going to play well, but this is where the beauty or the terribleness of this award comes into play. Because if he doesn't look like that, if he doesn't look like the 3-tech, and we're still saying we need another 3-tech, we need another 3-tech, then I could see that mountain of crap, of frustration, of disappointment kind of mounting. And speaking of that too, Zach Pickens, who's going to be out this next game, some might see as disappointing as well, because you expect Gervon and him to go up. And maybe if Gervon is the most improved player for the Bears, we start comparing them like brothers, and we go, Gervon, you're going really well. Pickens, you're not. So Pickens could be a candidate. Then 2 other kind of out there picks. Kevin Byard, as a rookie, I mean, not as a rookie, as a veteran, that's first year with the team. When he got out of Tennessee, he did not look good with the Eagles. The Eagles did not want him. I still think he's going to be good. I just wanted to throw his name into the ring. But my last one, I threw out there because of the long snapper issues. And actually, I should have maybe put the long snapper out there, Cairo Santos, because you have a new holder, a new snapper, and I think that could potentially change and alter and make the field goals a little bit more difficult. Where are we going to be yelling at the long snapper? Maybe not. I could see us maybe yelling at the kicker itself if things aren't going right. But knock on wood, things have been good when it comes down to the kicking. I wanted to throw those out there. That's enough negativity. Yeah, and then Illinois Jones saying, I don't think many people expect much from Pickens. That's a good point, too. I think that they're not expecting as much now. I know in the preseason training camp, I was getting a lot of questions, but yeah, not so much now. So now, let me know who you think the most disappointing player award should go out to. Who are you giving it to, or who are you predicting it should go out to? Because to me, I kind of have it down to 2 people. I either think Velus, just because if Velus doesn't put it together, if Velus doesn't do well, it's going to be to the level of him fumbling. It's going to be big mistakes. And I think that he would make big mistakes. But I think if anything, Nate Davis is my other second one. And if Nate Davis continues to just not play, not practice, which he should be out there, Nate Davis would be the guy. So I think because of that, I think Velus is a safe bet. But I think Velus could be the safe bet. You know what? I'm going to go with Nate Davis. I'm going to predict that Nate Davis can be it. So, and then Broski's saying Velus doesn't qualify, Brad. Anyone with a half-functioning brain cell doesn't expect anything from Velus. Hey, Ryan Poles, man, didn't want to trade him for anything less than a 4th. So, there's that. But I'm going to go, and I'm going to predict Nate Davis, because Nate Davis, yet again, the feeling of disappointment. I could see him being that person where we feel we're just disappointed in him. We're frustrated with him. That's why I'm going with Nate Davis, projecting him to be back-to-back champ. That's what I'm going to say. And Illinois Jones saying Braxton Jones, that's a good pick, a good pick for disappointment, right? Like, I'm hoping that it's not, but it could, because we do have more expectations, I think, for this line to come together. And also, that's why I wanted to go with offensive line too, because I know us Bears fans, we're all about, like, we need an offensive line. We need that. So let's go to, and then Broski's saying too, Alan. So let's go through offensive MVP. Offensive MVP. Let's go through this, because I don't think that this is crazy, right? Last year, offensive MVP was DJ Moore for obvious reasons. He had his, career highs, looked good, really was putting together the passing offense, because we knew that Justin Fields was running it a lot, but truly DJ Moore was the guy. There was no one on the offensive line. It was truly DJ Moore. So, candidates for Offensive Player of the Year, or Offensive MVP, so most valuable player for the Chicago Bears. Most valuable player for the Chicago Bears, Caleb, DJ. I think that it's primarily those two. But another one too, Broski has Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is another person that, if he's this veteran, and I know this is how Keenan Allen is, if Keenan is consistently open, consistently an easy go-to in the red zone, because this offense has not really been able to convert in the red zone when it's come down to training camp and practices like that. If Keenan becomes that guy, that's pretty darn valuable. If he is I always remember with Andrew Luck and Reggie Wayne, this veteran receiver that he always ended up throwing to, that could be Keenan. But that's also the beauty of the team. You have DJ, you have Keenan, you have Cole, you have all these other players. But also, another person is DeAndre Swift. And I see that Illinois Jones has that out there as well. I think that Swift could really be someone that, yet again, a lot of people aren't necessarily expecting. And you might say, well, didn't you bring him up as someone that could be the most disappointing? Yes, because this is the whole aspect of this offense. You don't know what we're really going to be doing with the running backs and other things like that. And DeAndre Swift, you look historically at his numbers with better offensive lines, hasn't been that impressive. But in training camp, people are saying that he's highly involved in the passing game, in the running game. The big question is, how big of a bell cow will he be? And the last little bit, I kind of put slashes between these candidates. If like a Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins, or Darnell Wright, yet again on the flip side, if they are the people that are become the leaders on the offensive line that ends up holding up, maybe. But I think ultimately, to me, it's two people. It's either DJ or Caleb when you're talking about the most value that they add. And truly, me being an optimistic Bears fan, I'm going with Caleb Williams, because your most valuable player should be the quarterback. So Caleb, please be that. Please be the most valuable player on this offense. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm rooting for. And also, correction, Broski saying that his pick is in Keenan Allen for the Cody Parkey Award. Okay, we'll see. Rather than the offensive MVP. He's expecting almost nothing from Keenan Allen. So let's go with it. I'm going with Caleb for my offensive MVP. We need that. So let's flip over. Defensive MVP, where this could be a little bit more interesting, or not at all. Because last year, Johnny PayPal and we were duking it out over who was the defensive MVP, Jalen Johnson or Montez Sweat. But you just think about it, Montez Sweat, when he came in, this entire defense changed. The attitude, everything. Like we said before, they became the number 4 defensive EPA team across the entire NFL when Montez Sweat came out there. So ultimately, he was the defensive MVP for us. But some people that just at least throw out there, I threw out Montez Sweat, obviously, for obvious reasons. He still is one of the biggest leaders. But when you look at defensive line, even like Jervon, the three technique is very, very valuable in this defense. If he is constantly disrupting, then he's in the eligibility conversation. I also threw our linebackers, Edwards and Edmonds, because Edwards was another person we threw out there as, yet again, someone that could be the defensive MVP for the Chicago Bears. But then also at the cornerback position, talking about Jalen Johnson, and rather than Tyreek Stevenson, I added down Kyler Gordon as somebody that coming off the edge when we send that corner blitz. Also, he is just an aggressive player. If he's constantly disrupting, constantly stopping the run, he could be the most valuable defensive player out there as well. But let's see what everyone's saying out there in the comments. Who is your potential defensive MVP? Broski saying TJ Edwards had a heck of a season last year. Yeah, like when we made that pick, I know like a lot, or when we made that signing, I know a lot of us were like, this is unbelievable. The price that we got him at and just the ability that he has is crazy. And Illinois Jones saying too, Edwards, Edmonds, those players would be fun. Like I would love to see like Tremaine Edmonds in that last season at Buffalo was so freaking good. And just so much fun to watch because you see all that speed. And I know a lot of people listening might go, what do you mean by like he wasn't good? That's what's so cool about him is he's so fast. Like everything looks incredible, but he needs to just play better in space. He needs to play better against the run and like shed blocks and also not over pursue. So couple things there. So if he can do that, if you can fix that, like my gosh, he's going to be crazy. He's going to be crazy. And I think then, yeah, we'll start looking at Edmonds a little bit more, but I'm going to go with Montez again because I'm going to go Montez again, just because that whole Tez effect. And I think that just with the defensive line, everything it kind of goes around with him. And that's where that most valuable player comes in. Otherwise, I think Jalen could be a really good one too, because a lockdown corner, so valuable. And what he was able to do, no one was even close to Jalen Johnson in productivity. Now we have talked about this before, that you should expect some, regressing to the mean essentially at the defensive back position when it comes down to coverage stats. So he should kind of naturally regress in the season. Doesn't mean that he got worse. This isn't Madden. It just means that he had a worse season type of deal, just because he was insane last year. But Broski's saying outside chance, but I think he has some untapped potential. He's going with Brisker. Ooh, Brisker. Yeah, and literally you read my mind with your next follow-up message. Like Brisker does need to stay healthy, but for real, the part of the reason why Brisker hasn't been able to stay healthy is because he's such a playmaker. He's just going to throw his face at everybody and try to just smack some people, tackle some people, and hit some people. That to me is something that, like, yeah, he would be fun to watch. But also, too, sophisticated thoughts. What's good, my friend? Saying the linebackers, defensive MVP. I like that. As a Bears fan, I want to see a middle linebacker. Look at my wall behind me. We got Butkus, we got Singletary, we got Urlacher. This team was built off of middle linebackers. Like Edmonds, if he has another one, I never think Edwards is going to be that crazy. Or I don't think he's going to be like to that level of defensive MVP or get the hype that we would give him, because he's kind of like that Briggs, right? We want the bigger guy. We want the faster guy like the Urlachers. So Edmonds, I'm looking for you. I want Edmonds. Statistically, it might actually be Jalen Johnson, but I think ultimately it's going to wind up being Montez again. So we'll see. Hopefully it's someone different. Hopefully that does in fact change. But let's talk about the last one. My favorite one, your favorite player. So this was the favorite player of the show, and ultimately favorite player for everybody. And this is not just the standard, your favorite, everyone likes Caleb Williams. Everybody likes DJ Moore. It's the people that you get up extra for, that you when they make a play, it gets you pumped, gets you excited, and you cheer more for this player than any other player on the Chicago Bears. Now, previously we've had, oh man, what was it? I know Darnell Mooney was one of them, because Johnny PayPal and I both loved Darnell Mooney when he had that amazing season. We were freaking out. But last year, Cole Kmet won it for us. Because Cole Kmet, to me, Cole Kmet is the person that, he embodied the Chicago Bears. And for those that watch CHGO and other shows like that, I know a lot of you do. I actually get the metrics on that. For those that watch CHGO, you hear like during the interviews how raw and authentic of a dude he really is. Just a good person. And also just he does seem like a Bears fan that just happens to also play for the Chicago Bears. So to me, he also embodies it because the guy just always uses the truck stick too. There's no juke in his game. It's just flat out like, I'm going to bulldoze you right when I get the ball. That's why he won our favorite player last year. So he's up for it again. Because obviously, like, he's still going to be the same dude. He's still going to do the same stuff. So to me, he still is up there. Now, also, I got to throw out, like, obviously Caleb Williams, just because of him potentially being the Messiah for the Chicago Bears and being that guy. But also, Rome Odunze. Like, Rome Odunze is the person that's going to moss people. And I don't know about y'all, anytime Rome Odunze makes a catch, I get up. You know, it's the whole thing of like, when they make a play, does it make you get out of your seat? Do you cheer louder for them? Do you get pumped up more for them? Rome was one of those guys for me this preseason. Whenever he made a catch, you know, it's just, that's Rome Odunze. Like, oh my gosh, like you get excited for it. So I see Illinois Jones saying, hey, he's excited for Rome Odunze. Another person too, I see him out there, Booker. Legs it saying they need to play Booker. That's another candidate for favorite player for me too. Because one, Booker, so much fun to watch. Anytime he's out there, I'm putting my eyes on him, and he's constantly fighting, constantly dominating. That's another candidate that I have. Also, I see out there Sophisticated Thoughts saying, you got to give me the name of the song for my opening. Here, I'll pause it right here. The song that is at the very beginning. Here, I'll actually type it in for everyone. And actually everyone that's listening too. It's Rumors by NEFX. I just typed it in the chat for all that are watching. So everybody that is listening, it's NEFFEX. And yeah, you can listen to the full song. They do all full copyright free music. So for anybody that's doing their own show, you can also just it's all copyright free. So you can just use it. They have like, it's all like pump up songs and stuff like that. So it's all like similar with those. So I was like, hey, I'm going to grab this. So yeah, for anyone that wants it, you can listen to that there. So shout out to NEFX for letting me use their song for the show for the last 4 years. So yeah, but let's see favorite players. We got Brisker as a menace to society on the field. That's another guy too. Brisker, to me, just fiery, feisty. He's on my list. I got Kyler Gordon on my list. Kyler Gordon is also another just gigantic beast. Like, I like the fiery players that are out there for sure. I threw Jack Sanborn. My Jack Sanborn love. I still got love for Sanborn, but he's not going to be out there as much. We saw how much it was last season. Wasn't a lot. So, and honestly, I hope that he's not out there a lot because it means that something bad happened to our other linebackers. But then, yeah, the only other person, Tevin Jenkins too. Tevin Jenkins is a giant wild card, but man, like it's this, right? We're all Bears fans. We love the hard hits, the big hits that are out there. Tevin Jenkins, when he just freaking bulldozes somebody, and yet again, it goes back to who is the person? Tevin Jenkins, good dude, just an awesome person, and just connects with Bears fans too. Just a funny guy. So to me, Tevin Jenkins, yet again, if he puts together a fully healthy season and is bulldozing people, like that could be somebody that we're like, dude, this guy is so freaking good. And I think too, it's contract year time. So that I think also adds that up a little bit too, because yet again, if he works all so hard, gets the deal and still dominates, I think we're going to be like, man, we love Tev. We love Tevin Jenkins. So that's some of my wild cards. Oh yeah, and last one, potential favorite player, Torrey Taylor. Just because if he's pinning people, that would it's fun. Like when he's out there, I watch the punt now. I want to see how good the punt is. So I threw him out there. I hope he truly does not become my favorite player because then that means that we're punting a lot. But I think Torrey Taylor I wanted to throw out there too. But let's see what y'all are saying. So we got Brisker, we got Cole. Legs it was good, my friend. He's saying Green Bay offense looked pretty good last night. Yeah, it was. I always say this with Green Bay, when you got someone like a LaFleur is a really good offensive mind. And I hate saying that, but he really is. But let's see out there too. We getting Rome. Yeah, Rome would be really fun. Illinois Jones State, any hard hits. Amen to that. But then let's see. Claus Ron, what is good, my friend? Claus up indeed. He's got it 42-7. Bears win out there. I like that. Sophisticated thoughts saying, I think Ryan Poles' 3 biggest free agent additions have to ball out this season. Tremaine Edmonds, Nate Davis, and DeAndre Swift. Agreed. Because that's still my only question that I have with Ryan Poles is when he goes after those big name players and spends like a little bit more money for those players in free agency, right? I'm talking free agency. We haven't necessarily seen a lot of those free agents hit. We've seen them do well in the draft. We've seen them, trade for a Montez Sweat that kind of turned this around. But yeah, those big money ones, not like the TJ Edwards, small money, played well, right? I think that to me, I agree, is kind of my big question mark too. So now let's crown who we think is going to be the favorite player. You can let me know yours down below, but I'm going to go, let's see. I'm going to probably go, I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to go with Austin Booker. I feel like I could go with a bigger one, but I'm going to go with Austin Booker for it just because him being a rookie. I loved Mark Anderson as a rookie. Mark Anderson, yes, a lot of his sacks were unblocked. He just went in and got it, but I loved it. You have a rookie that is going to be coming in on third downs, trying to make the big tackle, make the big sack. I'm rooting for Austin Booker. I'm going to put him as my projection for favorite player because I hope he's going to be that guy. So Bears Bones agrees with me there. Illinois Jones saying Sweat. That's another one too. Sweat, just because the level of dominance that he was doing, and especially him being the leader. And one other person that we didn't talk about was even Trevon. I didn't see Trevon Dexter out there too. That could be another person that a lot of us are going extra crazy for too. But ultimately, I'm going with Austin Booker. So there you have it. The projections for the 2024 season, which starts tomorrow. So make sure to stay tuned, like and subscribe if you're out there on YouTube. Rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. Just search for Unbearable Sports. And we'll be live tomorrow to recap the game at 7:30-ish. It's 7:30, 8 o'clock, that time to break it down. So hope to see you live. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair.